Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I'm combining my November wrap up with my December TBR. As per usual, in December I will cut down to one video per week, and then I'll do all of my end of the year looking ahead to 2025 in January. So starting off with my wrap up, and I'm looking at my computer. I have my spreadsheet pulled up. First book that I finished was Where We Found Our Home by Natasha Bishop. This is book 1 in her Lost and Found series, and this we're following Sierra, who is on the run from something or someone. We don't really know at the beginning, but she has settled in Austin, Texas, and she's trying to keep a low profile. There she meets Lincoln, I think that's his name, who is a firefighter, and we follow their story from there. This is a romance, and it does feel a little romantic suspense at times, but in a really good way. So I had a good time with it. I'm really excited to continue the series. I rated this 4.75 stars. Then I was rating something for a vlog that'll come out in a couple of weeks, and I DNF'd it. That was definitely not what I was expecting, but I just didn't care anymore. If you want my thoughts, if you want to know what it is, the vlog comes out in a couple weeks, so you'll understand when you watch it. Then I read Love Codes by Asia Monet. This is a novella from the Cartel Element series. I do have a spoiler-free series review of the 3 main books. This is a spinoff for a side character that is present in all 3 of the books, and then he finally gets his own story with another familiar character. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really cute, rated it 4 stars. I really like Miles. Like, I knew I liked him from the first book, but this one really solidified that. So Miles is the best friend of Adrian in book 1. Adrian is one of the Ruiz siblings. Their family runs one of the most prominent cartels, I believe, in Baltimore. Miles is their hacker. So he's not really on the front lines, but he does do a lot of behind the scenes and techie stuff for them, and this is his story. Then I read Private Agenda by CCJ. This is her most recent release and is the first in the Heights Chronicles. In this one, we're watching the Heights as the citizens are hoping that it will become its own city and that it will separate from Blackwood. And I really enjoyed this. I really liked Camille. She is the director of housing and something, and so she's very involved in this process. And her love interest is Councilman Duke Holland, who is very protective of the Heights, and rightfully so, but also was kind of a fucking asshole, and I could not stand that man. Y'all can have him. I was talking to Khadijah on Instagram, and she made a really good point. If you're gonna read this can't be your first CCJ, at least not recommended, because it's important to know a little bit more about the Heights before jumping into this one. So you should read the other series that take place in the Heights first, like New Heights, Serendipitous, all that stuff, so you can see more of the community building and all of that, and like why they're in this situation. So that's just a heads up for anybody that might be interested in this one. Otherwise, I did like it. I really like Camille. Not a fan of Duke, but there's reasons for that. I rated Private Agenda 4 stars, and then I also rated Beasts of War by Ayana Gray 4 stars. So this was supposed to be a buddy read with Lana, and she dipped. It's fine. Anywho, in this one, it's the conclusion to the trilogy, so if you've not yet read Beasts of Prey and Beasts of Ruin, I really can't say much because it's the finale. But in that first book, we're following 2 main characters. Both of them are teenagers, and they live in this world where there's a jungle, and there's something in the jungle that is killing civilians. So this has impacted both of their lives, and so for their own personal reasons, they both want to capture this creature that is harming the community, and so they team up to do it, and we follow their story from there. It gets wild. I really enjoyed the second book the best, but overall I did think that this was a satisfying ending. If you like YA fantasy that has to do with gods and magic and different like magical factions sort of, then I would definitely recommend this series. And lastly, I attempted to read Where There is Smoke There is Fire. This was on my Kindle TBR, and I DNF'd at 3%. We start off in a weird position where like the main character is kind of just like having a woe is me moment, and while I can sympathize with her, the way that she is talking about certain things, I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. She's also only 20, which was younger than I was expecting, so just didn't feel like finishing. On top of that, Robin and I are currently reading Heir of Navran, which is the final book in the Rhaenyra Revelation series that we started in January. I'm about halfway through, and I honestly don't know where we're going. I don't know how it's going to end. Like, there are certain plot points that need to be wrapped up. I'm just not sure how they're going to get from point A to point B. There's been a lot of information thrown at us at this point, and I just don't know where we're going. So we're just along for the ride, and we'll figure it out when we get there, I guess. Now for my December TBR, starting off with Wyatt by Asia Monique. We have been waiting for this for so long. It comes out on December 3rd. This is a spin-off to the Mafia Misfits series, and it is the first in the Barlow family Mafia series. I think that's what it's gonna be called. But Wyatt we met in Sinful Enforcer, and so we get to see a little bit more of behind the scenes there. I'm really excited. That's all I really know, to be honest. I didn't read the synopsis. I don't need to. It's part of a series that I love by an author that I love. I'm gonna read it regardless. Then I'm gonna read Brown Sugar This Christmas. This is a Black Christmas romance that I got from a Stuff Your Kindle Day earlier this year. I did a try chapter and I really enjoyed what I read so far, so I'm excited to see how it goes and if it's good and if it has Christmassy vibes. Hopefully it does, but from what I read, the main character and love interest had just met, I think, and they did not get off on the right foot. So obviously that's got to get fixed, and we're gonna follow that story. The next two, I think, were on Libro FM, a part of their influencer program. One is called The Christmas Killer. No, I don't know what it's about. I saw the title and I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. From the cover, I think it said 12 Nights, 12 Murders or something like that. So I don't know. The next one is called The Snow Killer. I know nothing about that one. Yep. I'll let you know in the wrap up. Then Robin and I will be completing another series and reading Cameron Battle in the Escape Trials. Yes, Cameron Battle in the Escape Trials. This is the, I guess, conclusion to the Cameron Battle duology. I thought it was gonna be longer as a series, but I'm not mad at this because it's one thing that I can knock off at least. So hopefully we like it. It ended on a huge cliffhanger, so I really want to know how we're gonna wrap all this up, and if, yeah, that's all I'll say. But if you like middle grade fantasy, would recommend. The first book was really good. And lastly, I will be reading The Lotus Empire, the conclusion to the Burning Kingdoms trilogy by Tasha Suri. In the first book, we are following Bria, who is a maidservant, and Malini, who is an exiled princess. There's a very ancient plant magic. There is a rebellion. There is a tyrant as emperor, and we're following these women as they're trying to sort of carve their own path instead of just letting things happen to them, and I really like it. I think I rated the first two books both 4 stars, so hopefully this is at least a 4. I'm really excited to see how this ends because second book ended with our characters at odds and I wasn't expecting that, so I'm interested to see how it goes. So that is my November wrap up in December TBR. Let me know if there are books that you are trying to read before the end of the year, if you're trying to complete any series. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned or if they are on your TBR. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.